We have people who may not be as committed, who may be going to some protests, and then we have people who are more political operators within that system. Where exactly should the line be drawn as far as who would be persecuted and to what extent if now Antifa is going to be designated a terrorist organization?
If you want to talk about like the actual networks and stuff, I mean, in the late 2010s, we saw the left get very, very comfortable. Everyone knows there's these networks, Black Bloc. We've seen them. They show up to the protests. They have the masks on. In New York City, the last time I watched this, there was someone threw a Molotov cocktail, and this was someone with a law degree. The left cracked down in the 70s or the 80s on right-wing extremists, things like the Aryan Nations and stuff. Like these were like bank robbers and guys getting out of prison. That's not what you see. These are people with law degrees. It's all this same thing. It's these sort of people that are just on the cusp of getting tenure, these mid-level bureaucrats and stuff. They're totally insane. Their behavior is completely unacceptable. No one's going to come to Matt Iglesias' house and throw him in a van in the middle of the night. If anything, any Democrat that has any sense should not be afraid of a crackdown on this. And what's so bad is through the colleges, they have systematized this. I had a friend that got up with this stuff. He does this now. He goes around to these protests as an Antifa guy. It's all super compacted. As soon as you start going, they distribute this literature and stuff, tells you exactly what to do, hey, leave your phone at home. They tell you exactly, hey, throw batteries because you can have batteries on you and not the weapon. And like, no one should have any doubts that once we get law enforcement involved, that it won't be difficult to find what is clearly criminal political action. I mean, I don't see any reason for caution here.
When we talk about Antifa, I'd love to talk to your friend. I've never heard of anybody who knows who Antifa is. It seems like just random anarchists that show up. And if you've met anarchists, they don't seem very organized. It doesn't seem to be anybody on the left. I don't think, it's same on terrorism, right? We can have specific definitions, and that can be true of Al-Qaeda. It can be true of the Proud Boys. It can be true of, the Weather Underground. I don't know the left as much, but I'm sure you do. But Antifa just seems like random dudes smashing windows, and that sucks, but they're not part of an organized terrorist organization. And I strongly suspect, and will now make this prediction, that this Antifa as a terrorist organization thing will then be used to designate anyone who has been anti-fascist or called Trump a fascist as a terrorist. As I was the other day, I noted hours after Charlie Kirk's murder, when Trump made his first statement about it, he said that everybody who had ever called anyone a fascist or a Nazi had contributed to this, that he would hold them responsible for contributing, and in fact said all of them were, quote, directly responsible for terrorism, which was certainly a surprise to me, having survived terrorism, and I found that an unacceptable thing to say. So I don't think Antifa is anything. If people do crimes, they should suffer the consequences. If people are violent, they should suffer the consequences. But there is no cell to go after, and there is no wider left or right enablement. It's just people out there working jobs and seeing their kids, and then there's some lunatics with rifles and sometimes lunatics in the government. But we have to be individual about this, and we have to focus on actual actions and what people are doing, not the names they use or the jokes they make on social media.
Before Bogbeef or Dudley replies, I just want to say that there was a recent video from Carolyn Borisenko, which I'm sure a lot of the people watching this show know who that is. So she sneaked into an Antifa training area, you could say, in New York City, where she was documenting ex-soldiers, so U.S. military soldiers who were leading recruits, bail funds, lawyers that were on standby. So as far as what makes something more of an organized type of organization, if there was this kind of evidence that was presented of something that organized, where you have lawyers, where you have military people, where you have people that work within, the bailing industry, then to me, that is much more substantial than, we could agree on that, right? That is much more substantial.
And I don't know that example, but that was responding to that example. But yeah, this is the idea, right? If we could do a blind test, right? You do a blind taste test of Pepsi and Coke. If we could strip away the details and the ideology and know who's on each other's team and whether they look like me or sound like me or read the stuff I do, if we could just look at actions, that's how any of these definitions and any of how we respond to threats should be.
And this is another comment over here as well. Steve, this is from Sully's Way. Steve, there are literal chapters of Antifa in multiple cities that are very open about their work. They are avowed members. They have networks with the name. They are, by any definition, organization. So like we would have, for example, in Washington State, right? We would have the local Antifa chapter there. And they do represent themselves, you know, in these particular ways. But I want to go to Bogbeef and then Dudley for any additional information, like what info could be presented as the smoking guns for there to be enough substantiality here, for there to be enough evidence that this is a very solid organization.
Okay, so, this is very simple. This is a law enforcement matter, and we've done this before. The Italian Mafia, fearing a crackdown, started like this group called the Italian American Civil Rights Organization in the 60s. This is why in the Godfather movies, they never say mafia, because they said it was just a civil rights act. And of course, the official policy was this is just a violation of people's civil rights. They're just good Italian people. There's no organization. They're just random people. And sure, you might find a guy that's a pimp, or a guy who's selling drugs, but that's just an individual. You can't just group them into a crime family that's organized and that has funds and all this kind of thing. Okay, well, I think we've done this before, and we can do it again, and it'll like whatever. We'll find out.
People from the right, they always use the word activist judge when they're talking about certain judges that would release criminals and would allow certain things to be the way that they are. I think the problem is that they're imagining the state, which again, I don't know to which extent it is like that, but imagine a state where the aforementioned mafia here, the Sicilian Mafia, all of a sudden got all of these various judges to be on their side. And the big question here is, what is the responsibility of the federal government when they are extremely aware that, hey, fellas, now we have this big problem with all these mafia dons that have put all of these judges on their payroll? How are we going to fix this?
Okay, so we've done this a million times. All these questions were settled in the 1840s. There's not going to be competing violence perspectives. And this is why these activist judges, these district attorneys, every single police chief in every single metro area is like an elderly woman that tries to look as meek as possible, because that's what the ethnic voting blocks that rule the metro areas want. They want that. I find that unacceptable. Is that what the system says? Is that what the Constitution says? I find that unacceptable. I think most of the true American citizens would find that unacceptable as well. Will there have to be legal innovations to break that? We've already seen that. We've seen Trump sending in the National Guard, and it feels fine, feels great. And I'm absolutely sure that these ethnic voting blocks that rule these cities, they would never ever tolerate that. The prison population has a disparate impact on the black population. Blah blah blah. Everybody has insanity. If you can't have 3 strikes laws for homicidal maniacs, etc. And the system that I guess we're all slaves to says it has to be that way. We have to tolerate this, despite the fact that we have international highways. Every state has a Capitol building that's where your laws are decided, and you just have to let that be run by psychos. I don't know. I just don't think you do. I think people are just. It's like, we're done with this shit. We're done with this. We don't have to do this anymore, and we don't have to. We can just, we have to step in and say, look, this has gone too far. We've been here before, by the way. We've been here in the 60s. And then, we did all the 3 strikes and all this kind of stuff. And so we have to do it again. We have to do it again. People got too lax and things went too far. It's time to dial it back. It's time to dial it back.